Are you moving to the Hampton Roads area and interested in what kind of real estate you can find here outside of Virginia Beach? That's what we're going to talk about in this video, and I'm going to share a few options with you that you may want to consider if you are moving to the area. And we're going to start right now. Now, I first must ask the question, why would you want to move outside of Virginia Beach? Virginia Beach is the most desirable city in our area to live in, but it really depends on your goals and where you're at in life, because Virginia Beach may not be what's best for you. Things to consider would be the cost of living. And if you want to learn more about that, check out the video that I made about the cost of living in Virginia Beach. Another reason could be the traffic or the tourism that takes place throughout the whole spring, summer season. So we're going to talk about some areas that are not in Virginia Beach that you may want to consider moving to. Okay, looking at the map here, let's just be clear on what Hampton Roads actually covers. So I'm zooming out here to the entire Hampton Roads area. The main parts of Hampton Roads is the 7 cities, which is Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk. If I zoom in right there, there's Portsmouth. And then we got Suffolk, which is a very big part of the city, landmass-wise. It's not super populated. There's a lot of farms and swamps and stuff, but Suffolk is a huge area. And that's really the south side of Hampton Roads. If you wanted to go a little further west, we got Smithfield and the whole Isle of Wight County area. But then on the north side here, you got Newport News and Hampton. You got Seaford all the way up to Williamsburg. Now, if you are working anywhere on the north side, maybe you're stationed at Fort Eustis or Langley, you're going to want to stay on the north side. You probably don't want to move down to the south side if you live on the north side. And I would say the same thing in return, because to travel back and forth between the north and the south side, there's only a few tunnels that you could use. The Monitor Merrimack right here is the most preferable route to take, but if you are far west, going through Carrollton isn't bad. The worst way to commute, which sometimes you have to do it, is this tunnel right here. The Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel tends to have the most traffic, tends to be the most congested, and I would avoid that tunnel if you can. Another couple of tunnels is right down here, the Midtown Tunnel, and these tunnels that go from Portsmouth to Norfolk right here, also want to avoid those too if you can, because if you're commuting on a daily basis, going through a tunnel, not only is there traffic to worry about, but also the toll. That toll could add up, so you need to add that to your budget, an additional $150 a month, because the tolls really do add up if you travel to and from each day. So the first question is, where do you work? That will have a lot to do with where you may want to live. Also, if school districts are important to you, check out greatschools.org or any of the sites that are reviewing schools, so that way you can see which school you prefer, and that right there may tell you where you do and don't want to live. The first area I have to highlight, and maybe I'm a little biased because I live in this area, is the city of Chesapeake, specifically the Greenbrier area. So Chesapeake is a fairly good sized city, and it's really divided into multiple sections. Out here you have the western branch of Chesapeake out here, which borders Suffolk and even the Churchland part of Portsmouth right up here. So there's western branch, and then there's more of the central Chesapeake area, which would Greenbrier, and then you have down here, you have the south part of Chesapeake. Now, where I currently live is right here in the Greenbrier area. I live right over here off of Eden Way, and the reason why I love living here is being in Greenbrier, I feel like I'm in the central heart of Hampton Roads here, and I'm very close to the freeway, to the 64 on-ramp, which gives me close access to everything. So I can drive out to the beach in 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I can drive up to Norfolk in 20, 25 minutes. I could pretty much access everything right here from Greenbrier. Although you're close to the beaches and you're close to a whole lot of things, Chesapeake doesn't have a whole lot to do, which is why I like the Greenbrier area, because this area does have the most shopping and the most restaurants. There's the Summit Pointe area, which I'm going to highlight to you in a moment. That's really cool, very developed. It almost feels like the town center in Virginia Beach, except for just a smaller version of it, but they're continuing to grow. Here is a view from above in my neighborhood. As you can see, there's a lot of lakes with a lot of walking paths that go around the lakes, which is really cool because Elijah loves walks. And the association cost is only $24 a month. I love living in this neighborhood. Like I said, there's a lot of options for shopping nearby. I shop at Harris Teeter for most of my groceries, but there's a Kroger not far away. And then the Summit Point area is super cool. It is very developed. It has luxury apartments if you're into that type of living. They have spent about $330 million developing this area. There's restaurants, and they're still expanding it to be even larger. Greenbrier does have a mall, but unfortunately it is shutting down. The MacArthur Mall in downtown Norfolk is also shutting down. Our malls just haven't been doing so well, and from what I understand, they're considering possibly turning it into a hotel. I'm gonna walk you through a couple properties here in Chesapeake that I have sold recently, just to give you an idea of what you can get for your money, but keep in mind, all pricing is subject to change depending on when you're watching this video. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything as far as pricing goes, or maybe you're just curious about where you should actually live in Hampton Roads and you want to talk through that with somebody that's from this area, that knows this area. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. My contact information is in the description. Here is one that I sold specifically in the Greenbrier area. This is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a pretty small backyard, as you can see there. It is located on a cul-de-sac, which is pretty cool. It has about 1,850 square feet. It was built in the late 90s, I believe, and it's fairly updated, but it's not fully updated. It has a new roof, new HVAC, all the major components were well cared for, and this sold really close to $400,000. So this is what somebody can get for their money currently right now, but again, this changes all the time. Just reach out to me for an update on that. But as you could see, it is professionally staged. It looks really nice. Shout out to Lori. She does an outstanding job. All my listings, when I'm selling a house, I want to make sure that they show at their absolute best. So I do provide some staging services. And this one had a downstairs primary bedroom, which was cool. The previous owners were actually using that as a in-law suite for their mother. Like I said, that was a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house I just showed you, about 1,850 square feet. I said it was built in the 90s. I was wrong. It was built in the 80s. Anyways, I'm gonna show you another house that you can also get in Chesapeake. It's about 10 minutes away from this house. It is also a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom for the same price, but it is much newer. It was built in 2013, and it has almost 2,400 square feet. And you might ask yourself, why would it be the same price if it's newer, nicer, and bigger? I'm glad you asked. The house I just showed you and we walked through was right over here in this area, so just 10 minutes away. Here's a perfect example of why location matters. Sure, you can get more house, nicer house, newer house for the same amount of money, but this location over here, even though it's also in Chesapeake, is not as desirable. Specifically, being close to Compostela Road is generally not the most popular location, but also this big field you see here, right across the street from this house, is a cemetery. What that means is the neighbors across the street are very quiet, except for maybe during a full moon. The other issue with this location, when I zoom in, let me show you. Look at the next door neighbor. This is the house that I just sold. Look at the next door neighbor. Look at that. He is a hoarder. He has all kinds of junk. However, if you need a part for your lawnmower, he's your man. Let's walk through this house and see what it has to offer. It does have a bigger backyard than the other house I showed you for the same price, but it doesn't have a garage. Okay, it does have plenty of parking out in the driveway and even in the street, but it's a newer, nicer house. You can see it shows very nice. And this isn't even staged. This is actually the owner that just really took good care of this house, and it almost looked like a model home even though it was actually lived in. Big bedroom with the tray ceilings. Look at that big shower. It's a nice house, and I think the size of the backyard is another thing that you get when you're compromising on this location. I generally do not recommend compromising on location when it comes to a house, but depending on what you're looking for and what your goals are, you may find within your budget you get more square footage or a nicer house if you do compromise on the location. The only other option is, if you want that location and you want that extra square footage and you want that big 2-car garage, is to just go a little higher on the price. Another part of Chesapeake to consider is the Riverwalk neighborhood. Now, Riverwalk is located just 5 minutes away from the last house I showed you by the cemetery. However, it is a much more desirable community, and a house similar to the houses I had just shown you would cost about $50,000 more in this neighborhood. Here is a view from above in the Riverwalk community. There is a lot of homes in this subdivision and a lot of neighborhoods within the subdivision. There's also a lot of waterfront options. If your goal is to live on the water, there's a house right there I sold recently for $450,000. There's the clubhouse and an overview of the golf course. There's tennis courts, there's a swimming pool. Really has all the amenities that a neighborhood would want. And I believe the association fees are just under $50 a month. You'll find that the cost of living in Chesapeake is lower than Virginia Beach, but not that much lower. So I'm going to give you another option that's actually in the city of Portsmouth that is even lower when it comes to cost of living and could be a good option for you. You can see the city of Portsmouth here outlined in red. It is right next to Chesapeake. It is home of the only casino that Hampton Roads has. It just was added last year. In fact, our gambling laws didn't even allow us to have anything like this up until just a couple years ago. But it is a big, legit casino if you're into that. Now, Portsmouth is really divided into two sections. There's the main port side over here, but then just northwest of that across the water is the Churchland part of Portsmouth. That's the part that I want to highlight. If you work anywhere east or anywhere that would involve this tunnel or this tunnel here, I would probably stay away from living in Churchland. But if maybe you are stationed over here at the Joint Staff Base, or maybe even on the north side, maybe you're stationed up here at Fort Eustis or Langley and you don't want to live on the north side, Churchland might be a good option for you because this Monitor Merrimack tunnel right here isn't so bad traffic-wise. Churchland has some really cool parks and wildlife preserve area. The neighborhood here, which is Merrifields, I feel like you can get a lot for your money in this neighborhood. A similar size home to what I just showed you over in Greenbrier for $400, you can get for $375 here with a pool. It's a lot more for your money, and the cost of living in general is less in Portsmouth. Another couple neighborhoods to highlight here would be Hatton Point or Sterling Point. So if I'm talking about Churchland area right here, I also have to mention Harbour View right over here. It's its next door neighbor. Now, Harbour View is not in Portsmouth, it is in Suffolk. It's just right over the border. And the North Suffolk area, as I mentioned, is a more developed area. I highly recommend the Riverfront Golf Club. It is, if you're into golf, you will not be disappointed. It is a very nice course. There's a lot of cool homes right here in this community. If you're looking for a luxury home on the riverfront has a lot of that. Let me show you my favorite home in this area. It would be on this side of the street right here. Check this out. Look at that curb appeal. It's got the rounded driveway, and I think it has a 2-story garage. Man, that place is nice. It looks like it's got 4 garages, 4 garage bays. And right behind this house is the river. A house like this, you're looking at a couple million, but you can find some waterfront options for less than $2 million. Sometimes even closer to $1 million, depending on how big of a home you're looking for. If your goal is to be on the river, this could be a good option for you because most of this area is not in a flood zone, even though it sits right on the water. There are so many other areas that I could highlight in Hampton Roads. I could do this all day, but it really comes down to what you prefer based on your preferences, your proximity to work, possibly school districts, and do you prefer that beach life or that city life, or perhaps do you want some more land and some more space and privacy? Whatever it is you're looking for, I can help you find it. My phone number is right here on the screen. And also in the description, there's a link you can use to book me for a consultation. We can hop on Zoom together and talk through this. I'm here for you as a resource, so let me know how I can help. And please, subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification. That way you can get more videos like this as I highlight other areas that you may possibly want to live in.